Here we go, recording in three, two, and one. Welcome to episode 165 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 165. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. I know when this episode released, we're much farther in the future, and I apologize that we record so far in advance, but over the last 2 days, we've lost Dr. Ruth Westheimer,
Mm-hmm.
Shelley Duvall,
Mm-hmm.
Richard Simmons, and
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Doherty.
Shannon Doherty?
Yeah, yeah. She succumbed to cancer.
Yeah, she'd had it for a while.
Yep. So wild, wild. I
Yeah.
saw after I saw that Shelley Duvall died, I didn't know about this, and this may be a subject we want to cover at some point because I think we should. Stanley Kubrick.
Yes.
Um, I didn't know he was very abusive to her during The Shining.
Yes. Yes.
And I saw some behind the scenes video
Like
of his
Hitchcock
behavior.
abusive.
Yeah. Um,
But just to her.
yeah, I know, which was wild, but Kubrick, I think is a subject we need to cover at some point. Um, Definitely important to the film industry in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we should cover that. I saw that Resident Alien is moving to USA Network.
Oh,
So I could, I only got through 2 seasons because season 3 was on Peacock, maybe
yeah, I think
not on
Peacock.
not on Netflix.
No,
So
I think it's like Peacock, either Peacock or Paramount, but I think it's Peacock.
it's got to be Peacock because I have Paramount. I would have watched season 3 of Resident Alien. I love that show. I think I'm going to get into Con Man. I want to see that.
Con Man's pretty funny, or at least the
That's
first
what I
season
heard.
of it is.
That's what I heard. I want to get into that. Uh,
It's just Alan Tudyk and Nathan Fillion. Just you can tell there are a few where they were making it where they just broke each other up a couple of times because they'll
mhm.
be like, and then look away real fast. It was like, oh,
That's funny.
yeah.
I'll get into that. I haven't started the Acolyte yet. I'm waiting for that to finish. I want to watch that all at once. That's the thing with streaming. I don't want to wait weekly anymore. I'll wait for an entire season to come out before I start watching it.
Sometimes I'll do it for a couple of episodes, but no, like I like the weekly's fine with me.
I
Gives me
just
a
don't.
chance to process, especially something like the Acolyte.
Hmm, interesting. Yeah, I've heard some people say that's a little slow, but I'm gonna watch it anyway. I definitely want to get into that. And then the other thing I saw, and I haven't seen a confirmation of this, but I saw that the sequel for Ready Player One, the movie, because so it was a book first. Ready Player One was a book. The book is
Mhm.
phenomenal.
Mhm.
The movie
A
is
lot of
good.
Yeah, a lot of people were disappointed with the movie because it wasn't as good as the book.
Yes, and but in subsequent watchings of Ready Player One, the movie, I liked it enough. It's fun, it's entertaining. It's not as good as the book because the book is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Ready Player Two, the sequel book, I hated it. I hated it. I didn't think it was near as good. Um,
Like the second Ender's Game book. Like Ender's Game was incredible,
mhm,
and then
mhm.
the second Ender's Game book was
Right. The
not as
second
good.
and third, because there's Speaker for the Dead and
Z-
Xenophobe.
Xenophobe, yeah.
Yeah, not as good. You can actually, if you go to the fourth one, which is it Ender's Return or something? The fourth one is pretty good. I would recommend that one. But anyway, Ready Player Two, they're gonna make a movie of it, but I'm seeing that it's gonna be called Ready Player One, Two. Uh, why? Just
Why
call
not
it
just
Ready
call it
Player
Ready Player
Two.
2? Yeah.
Yeah.
You got a built-in title. Why not use it?
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't like the book either.
Maybe I don't know. If you want to if you like Ready Player One and like Ernst Cline, read Armada. Armada is really good. I wish they would make Armada into a movie. Our Armada is really kind of a lot like the last Starfighter.
The Last
Um,
Starfighter. Yeah.
but I liked Armada, so I would highly recommend reading Armada, and I'd like to see them do a movie on that one. So anyway, those were just the things on my mind. Um,
On the
so
radar, as it were. Just to steal from two
two
geeks in a
geeks in a
microphone
microphone
again.
on our Geek Dar.
Yes.
Um, if you don't have anything, I'll let you get started on the nerdery side of the house.
Okay. Now I kind of wanted to drop into this because I thought it was interesting. So two movies about Cold War science run amok.
Okay.
Dreamscape and
Mhm.
D.A.R.Y.L.
Okay.
Yeah, it's both two great sci-fi movies that people don't really talk about anymore. Um,
And and you said technology run amok.
well, Cold War technology run amok because they have a similar premise.
Yes, I actually would have added war games into this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And they were all out at roughly the same time. I think Dreamscape was 84, D.A.R.Y.L was 85,
I think war games may have been 83.
80,
I'll look it up.
83 or 82. Yeah.
I'll look it up. But continue. I'll find it here in a minute.
So
80,
Dreamscape,
80,
we'll start
83.
83.
83.
Yeah, so
Yep.
83, 84, 85. Dreamscape is a 1984 American dark science fiction adventure film directed by Joseph Rubin and written by David Loffrey, with Chuck Russell and Rubin co-writing. It stars Dennis Quaid, Kate Capshaw, Max von Sydow, Christopher Plummer, and according to the author Roger Zelazny, the film developed from initial outline that he wrote in 1981, based in part upon his novella He Who Shapes and 1966 novel The Dream Master. He was not involved in this project after 20th Century Fox bought his outline. Because he did not write the film treatment or the script, his name does not appear in the credits. Uh, Assertions that he removed his name from the credits are unfounded. The music score is by French composer Maurice Jarre. Principal photography began 3rd of February 1983 in Los Angeles. Locations included Union Station in LA, Los Alamitos Racecourse, and the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California. Dreamscape was released on August 15th, 1984. The film was a box office success, grossing $12.1 million on a $6 million budget. That was the second film released to movie theaters that was rated PG-13 under the new MPAA rating guidelines. Yeah. Following Red Dawn, which had come out 5 days prior. The film was released on DVD on June 6, 2000, January 4th, 2005, and April 7th, 2015. So they did some special releases for Dreamscape.
Hey, speaking of DVDs, I have to pause you for just a second because this is just funny to me. So we're having a garage sale, uh, stuff since the move, just things we just want to get rid of and things like that.
Yes.
Selling all of my DVDs, all of them.
What?
You can get almost everything on streaming. You can get it, and plus I'm selling my Blu-ray player, so no reason to have it
Oh,
really
yeah, yeah. If
anymore.
you're selling the player,
You know, and we were just talking about it, and I said, one of the other thing, most things you get free streaming, and that's kind of the point with it.
yeah,
Um, one of the things I mentioned to Chelsea, I said, yeah, one of the things I can't get free streaming is Xanadu, and that upsets me.
yeah.
Why are you showing Vincent Price?
It's a laser disc.
Oh, I
I believe in
also do
old
not have a
media.
laser. I also do not have a Laserdisc player.
I do it. I
Um,
watched Species last night.
but so Xanadu,
Mhm.
Xanadu, I have on DVD, and I was like, yeah, I really hate that we're going to get rid of that, but we don't have a Blu-ray player, and you can't get Xanadu free anywhere. Well, Chelsea just happened to notice that we had a $6 credit on our Amazon Prime account, so she bought me Xanadu, and I've watched it like 3 times this week.
You got it for $6,
Yeah,
and now you have it
yes, I now I own it digitally, and like I said, watched it 3 times this week.
3 times.
It's not a long movie.
No, no.
Anyway, sorry, continue. Dreamscape.
Dreamscape has a 79% fresh ratings on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes based on 33 critics. with an average rating of 6.4 out of 10. The critics' consensus reads Dreamscape mixes several genres, horror, sci fi, action, and always maintains a sense of adventure and humor. On Metacritic, which assigns a weighted mean score, the film has a score of 63 out of 100 based on 10 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. The film was also spoofed by riff tracks by comedians Janet Varney and Cole Stratton on June 19th, 2015. Um, okay, so basically, Dreamscape is about this Cold War idea of they can take these psychics, these powerful psychics, and teach them how to go into people's dreams. And someone is doing it to the president of the United States. Um, talking about a nuclear annihilation. Dude's having a nuclear annihilation dream every night of his life. Um, and I don't know. I don't know if other people outside our demographic have those. I still have, but I know most Gen Xers I know have had at least one nuclear annihilation nightmare after we saw the day after. Um,
I did not see the day after live.
mhm.
I saw it actually many years later. For me, what brings nightmares to me that I think is so well done as far as nuclear holocaust is Robert McCammon's Swan Song.
One
Swan
song,
Song is terrifying.
terrifying, terrifying. And it's basically it's the stand but done better. I've always said I think Swan Song is better than the stand. But it's basically the same sort of story.
That's an opinion.
Yeah, I should say that to the Stephen King fan.
Right.
But yes, terrifying. Um, and it's these psychics that are working for different government organizations that are going into people's dreams and either like it starts out with one kid who has this horrible dream of this snake man who tries to eat him every night, and they're trying to help the kid with his nightmares. But at the same time, there's another rogue group who's giving the president these nuclear annihilation dreams, trying to get him to do what they want. Um, the Snake Man is quite terrifying. I watched this recently. The special effects are still pretty good. The Snake Man from far away is still scary.
Hmm.
Close up, not as much. Um, it's basically a giant cobra snake face dude. Um, again, frightening, but on close inspection, it could probably be a little better. But again, we're talking 40 years ago. It's still prime. A lot of the blue screen work they did in some of the dream sequences probably could be a little better or a little worse, but they're dream sequences. So, but Dennis Quaid is this psychic who's kind of down on his luck, and he's just, trying to eke out a living, and he gets caught up in all of this because he was part of the original experiment. And Max von Sydow and Christopher Plummer, everybody's kind of working from a different point of view. I like it. Again, I watched it recently. It still holds up. What did you think about Dreamscape?
Dreamscape was okay to me. I didn't think it was that great of a movie. I much preferred Daryl that you're going to get into
Yes.
here shortly. But Dreamscape's okay. It's worth a watch. I mean, especially if you want to get a view of the fear we had in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
I understand there's a fear of nuclear war now still,
Hmm.
but with the 80s Cold War, it's check those out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. But yeah, just Dreamscape's one of those ones that I think it's one of those unsung 1980s science fiction slash adventure films that
Hmm.
because we had so many in such a short time span, a lot of them kind of went under the radar. Like these two, Dreamscape and D.A.R.Y.L kind of went under the radar. They were there, they were big at the movies, they were big on video, and then, they didn't become part of the conversation. But at the time, that was in our wheelhouse. That was one of our science fiction movies, like The Last Starfighter.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it needs talking about more. I'd like to see a remake of it set in the 80s with the special effects we have today, but with a low budget. I don't think it needs to be $100 million picture. They could probably do it, with like an indie budget, and it would come off flawlessly. Especially if you could get Dennis Quaid involved. Maybe have him play the bad guy. Ooh, that'd be sweet. That
Yeah.
would be so sweet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's a good cast. The acting's good. The writing is a little hit or miss. It's an unusual plot, but I can look past that. The special effects for the time were outstanding, and now are still pretty good. But yeah, it's one of those ones I would definitely check out. The next film is D.A.R.Y.L. That is capital D period, capital A period, capital R period, capital Y period, capital L period. It is a 1985 science fiction adventure film directed by Simon Windsor and written by David Ambrose, Alan Scott, and Jeffrey Ellis. It stars Mary Beth Hurt, Michael McKean, Catherine Walker, Colleen Camp, Joseph Summer, and Barrett Oliver. It follows a seemingly normal young boy who turns out to be a top secret military created robot with superhuman abilities. Um, Principal photography began on January 2nd, 1985. The film was shot at Pinewood Studios near London. It was also shot in Orlando and Dillsboro, North Carolina. Almost all of the fictional town of Barkington was filmed in Orlando and the surrounding areas, with one exception that was filmed in Dillsboro. D.A.R.Y.L's house was filmed at 716 Euclid Avenue in Orlando. Turtle's house was filmed at 717 Euclid Avenue in Orlando. Barkington City Hall was filmed at 50 Front Street in Dillsboro. So the City Hall was the one that was filmed in North Carolina. The hospital scenes were filmed in Orlando VA Medical Center. Blue Lake was filmed at Lake Copeland in Orlando. The baseball game at Blankington Park was filmed at Delaney Park in Orlando. Basically, just all over Orlando. Um, the exterior of the Tascom facility was filmed at the Siemens Energy building in Orlando, but all the interiors were filmed at Pinewood Studios and outside of London. D.A.R.Y.L's escape onto the freeway was filmed on FL 408 and US 17 in Orlando. The airport scenes were filmed at Kissimmee Gateway Airport in Kissimmee, Florida.
Florida.
So, yeah, Florida,
Florida.
Florida. Hello, Florida. Um, so yeah, most of this movie was filmed in Florida. I'm not sure where it's supposed to take place, but basically it starts with this scientist trying to get this. Well, you don't even know he's a scientist at first. He's just trying to get this kid out of this facility. And the kid ends up becoming an orphan and getting fostered into a family that wants to adopt him. And he makes friends, but he's kind of weird and unusual. And you find out he's an android. He's an android created to go behind Russian lines and cause chaos. Um, but he's also sentient. He's he's not Robbie. He's Data.
Hmm.
And he's also discovering what it is to be a human child. At the same time, he can fly an SR-71, which was the big which which was the big plot point for all us, young kids in the 80s. Like, yeah, I wish I was a robot so I could fly an SR-71. What's the SR-71, wasn't it? Is that right? Yeah, it
I
was the
do
SR.
believe so.
But yeah, this was dark Cold War shit. And they're chasing this kid and this poor family who's just a family. They're just a middle class. um, family trying to help this little boy out, and then he befriends Turtle, his best friend, who Daryl is also trying to protect. He's trying to protect his parents and Turtle, and that's basically all he's concerned with. So everything he does is in service to that, and it's just played wonderfully by Barrett Oliver, who portrayed a childlike innocence that was really good for, especially for an actor his age. And then he goes on to do the Never-Ending Story like the next year. Um, love that kid. I'm not sure what he got. I think he did some other stuff later on. But that, his big claim to fame was D.A.R.Y.L and the Never-Ending Story. But yeah, what did you think about D.A.R.Y.L?
D.A.R.Y.L's a great movie. It's a lot of fun, and Zig, hit it when D.A.R.Y.L gets into the plane. That's the big payoff in the movie when he gets to it. Um, D.A.R.Y.L is great. I personally think D.A.R.Y.L heralded in some future androids such as Data.
Data, yeah.
Um, the TV show Small Wonder.
Small
Uh,
Wonder, yeah.
I think that, and I'm going to get on my soapbox for just a minute.
Hmm.
AI.
Yes.
AI is such a good movie, and I'm going to spoil it, but this movie is over 20 years old. AI is a great movie until one point in the movie
Uh-huh.
when you get to it. I'll ruin it. When David finds the blue fairy, stop the fucking movie.
Yeah,
Do
don't
not
don't continue.
carry on.
Don't continue. It's sad,
It is. It's very sad.
but that's
It
where you need to end it because
Yes,
otherwise you will end up not liking that movie.
you if you go past, you will end up going from loving the movie to
Hmm.
hating the movie. And I really wish it hadn't did it. But anyway, so getting off my soapbox.
That's
Um,
okay. I'm looking up what because I thought I had it in my notes. What does D.A.R.Y.L stand for? Because it's an acronym.
I don't remember. I'd have to look it up as
I got
well.
it. I'm looking at it right
Go
now.
ahead.
Data analyzing robot youth life form.
There we go. Um, so yeah, so I think that really kind of ushered in, and I mean, granted, okay, so I say that D.A.R.Y.L ushered that in. You actually got to go back further before that. You have to go to Asimov with his robot series.
Hmm.
That really ushered this in. But I think D.A.R.Y.L from a Hollywood perspective
Yes.
is what really kind of ushered in this artificial human
Hmm.
that is that is trying to develop humanity, that is trying
Yes.
to develop their own humanity of emotion and feelings and things like that. I think this one kind of ushered that in.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. I mean, we had some other stuff going on about it. I was looking up some of the. I seem to remember that this film did pretty well.
I think so. I think it was a
Yeah,
small hit.
yeah, yeah. It was just like Dreamscape. It like doubled its okay. Oh, budget was 10 million. Oh, its worldwide gross was 7,840,000.
Oh,
Yeah, so
so
it
it was
didn't
a box
actually.
office bomb.
Yeah, it did not make its budget. Wow.
Box office bomb. Interesting.
That's
I
probably why
I
we
wouldn't
didn't
have
get another
guessed.
D.A.R.Y.L.
Oh yeah, you know, I wouldn't have guessed. I thought it was more successful than that because like I said, I mean it's a movie. I think it's a movie worth watching for sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And Barrett Oliver does pull off the android quite well. Danny Corkill is Turtle. His best friend. I really like that. Um, he was really good at it too. Just as a as the little geeky kid we all knew or were.
Mm,
I love the character of Turtle. I think he's my favorite character. I like him better than D.A.R.Y.L. Um, but yeah, you see that character trope in a lot of movies. It's like, oh hey, that's me. I'm that geeky kid. Um, but yeah, Daryl was one of those. I agree. I think it ushered in a lot of ideas, and I also agree with you with AI. When he finds the blue fairy, you need to shut that movie off
Oh gosh, yes.
and have a good cry.
Yes.
Yeah, because you'll get wrapped up in it, and
Yes.
But yeah, that's about it for a couple of Cold War um science run amok films
Awesome.
where uh where the Cold War scientists got out of control. I
Um,
have included videos. I don't think I've got the full movie in either one of them in our YouTube page. Um, check that out. Just double check. But yeah, I know I've got some good scenes in there.
awesome. Well, appreciate that. I think those are both
Sure.
movies you should get out and take a check on. So awesome. With that, I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
Excuse me. So today I got my information off Medium, Wikipedia, the Las Vegas Review Journal, Coffee or Die magazine, and CBS News. And
Coffee or
this
Die magazine. I
Coffee
like
or
that.
Die magazine, yeah. This is the story of the murder of Sherrice Iverson.
Sherrice Iverson.
This is like I said in our exclusive for 20. This is another very tragic one. I mean, they're all tragic, but this is another particularly sad one. I just buckle up.
Okay.
On May 27th, 1997, Sherrice Iverson, who was 7, was visiting the Prima Donna Resort and Casino with her brother, who was 14, and her father, Leroy. She happily roamed outside of the casino under the supervision of her older brother while her father gambled and drank inside the casino. Security guards tried to return the children to Leroy multiple times, but the father was consumed in the excitement from the machines. So the brother sister duo continued to wander off and find their own entertainment. Leroy did not have any money for a room. His plan was to stay and gamble for several hours while his kids played in the arcade. And he later told police that he had done this several times in the past. Sherrice ended up venturing off into the arcade area of the hotel, and at this point, she lost sight of her older brother and was completely unmonitored. The little girl weaved her way around the colorful game machines when suddenly two boys, Jeremy Strohmeyer, who was 18, and David Cash Jr., who was 17, noticed her walking around. The boys had been taken to the hotel and accompanied by David's father, but also split apart from him for a while. Around 4 o'clock a.m., Leroy, seriously, I
How old was
understand.
this kid again?
Sherrice was 7 and her brother was 14.
Okay.
At 4 a.m., Leroy is still gambling inside the casino and letting his kids wander around. I don't mean to vilify him. I really don't. But
Yeah.
it's a problem. It's a
Yeah.
gambling problem, and I can't. Like I said, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
vilify him at all.
Dude,
It's
I've
just,
seen this
geez,
thing firsthand. It is they can't stop.
no,
They cannot stop.
no. So around 4 a.m., a surveillance camera showed Jeremy interacting with Sherrice and explained to her that they could play an entertaining game of hide and seek. Jeremy told her that the only place she could effectively hide from him and stay safe was the women's bathroom. So Sherrice was just under the impression they were having a good time, so Sherrice followed his directions and ran into the women's restroom. A few minutes after she ran inside, Jeremy looked around near the area to see if anyone was looking and following behind her, which they weren't. And inside the bathroom, Sherrice still believed they were just playing an innocent game. So Jeremy goes in the bathroom and they tossed wet paper towels back and forth at each other before Sherrice picked up a wet floor sign and slung it lightly in his direction. During all this commotion, David entered the restroom to see what all the loud sounds were about, and when he peeked inside, he saw Jeremy forcefully shoving Sherrice into the larger handicap stall and placing his hand over her mouth. Jeremy kept his palm pressed tightly over her lips as he sexually assaulted her. And then an even more shocking turn of events, David went into the stall beside them, stood on the toilet for a better view, and watched the assault unfold for a few minutes. The surveillance camera captured David calmly leaving the bathroom shortly after. Just a few seconds after David left, there were a couple of women who entered the bathroom who were oblivious anything was going on. Jeremy was on the other side of the handicap stall with his hands still heavily cupped over Sherrice's mouth. Sherrice was waving her arms wildly, trying to catch her breath, but he was determined to suffocate her. The women left without managing to detect Jeremy and Sherrice. And Sherrice was still alive at this point. He changed his tactics from suffocation to breaking her neck. The lead detective in the case, Phil Ramos, later explained, quote, he said that she was still breathing. He tells me that he put his left hand under her jaw, his right hand across the back of her skull, and snapped her neck just like you see on TV. Unfortunately, all this rage that he had against a defenseless child did not end at sexual assault and murder. After he took her life, he folded her body in half and tried to stuff her body in the toilet. 20 minutes after Jeremy first followed Sherrice in the bathroom, he emerged and caught up with his friend David, ultimately confessing to his final actions. Both boys walked out of the hotel and were seen with stoic facial expressions. Screams then echoed throughout the arcade as people found Sherrice's body. Meanwhile, Jeremy and David were out in the parking lot trying to flirt with two new girls. Although being a complete witness to the attack and hearing Jeremy's detailed confession, David never reported Jeremy's crime to the police. Instead, authorities were forced to release the surveillance video from the arcade for anonymous tips. Two of his classmates back at Long Beach, California, recognized Jeremy's identity and called the police. So by the time of this discovery, Jeremy and David were back home in their local city. However, Jeremy was living far from comfortable and careless. The pressure of Sherrice's murder was chipping away at him, and as a result, he attempted to overdose on his attention deficit disorder medication by taking 37 of the pills. He attempted to end his life, but it failed, and he was arrested 3 days after his crime, but not without trying to flee through his backyard first.
Attention deficit disorder?
Mm-hmm,
That's speed, dude.
mm-hmm. He took 37 capsules.
Wow.
He had to be extradited back to Primm, Nevada, but all the commercial flights refused to fly a child killer, so they had to get a private jet. Detective Phil Ramos talked about Jeremy's confession by saying, quote, I still have the tape of his confession. He talks about it like a high school field trip. There's no emotion. He's just flat monotone. He didn't even get nervous. Detective Ramos asked to Jeremy, at the moment you realized she was still alive, did you try to give her CPR or think about helping her? And Jeremy responded, no, I just knew she knew who I was, so I had to kill her. Ultimately, he was charged with first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, and sexual assault of a minor. When police searched Jeremy's computer, they found images of minors. He claimed that they were from unsolicited emails, that he had no interest and that he had no interest in them. Jeremy's attorneys tried to have the confession suppressed because he was not given legal counsel. However, the police claimed that Jeremy waived this right to an attorney being present during questioning.
Right. They
Pro-
tell you point blank.
right. That's why you've got those rights.
That's right.
The prosecutors alleged that 30 hours before he allegedly molested and strangled the girl, Strohmeyer admitted in an internet chat room that, quote, I fantasize about having sex with 5 and 6-year-old girls all the time. Terrible.
He went to
Jeremy's
that casino purposely looking for a kid, didn't he?
maybe, I don't know. I mean, he was obviously looking for a good time. Whether or not he was purposely looking for a kid, who knows? Who knows? Jeremy's defense attorney was Leslie Abramson, who was also the attorney for the Menendez brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Leslie said prosecutors could not prove the messages came from her client that he did in the chat room. Jeremy claimed that he was high on alcohol and drugs at the time and did not remember committing the crimes. It was even suggested that the witness David had in fact been the one to murder Sherrice, as Jeremy claimed to have no recollection of his actions, and the witness was the one to actually tell him what he had seen and doing in the bathroom that night. A revisit of Jeremy's childhood also came into play when trying to profile the type of person Jeremy was. Apparently, he was adopted by a foster family after his father went to prison and his mother was in and out of mental facilities. Jeremy's foster parents were absolutely devastated with their son's actions while also feeling anger towards the adoption agency for not revealing crucial details about Jeremy's biological parents. And, I don't know on this. Would they not have adopted Jeremy, or would they have adopted him knowing his past and get him help earlier? So I'm not sure
Maybe.
which direction that
Yeah.
went. I was kind of confused on that a little
Maybe.
bit.
Yeah. Maybe they would have, if they'd have known it was coming.
Possibly.
Yeah, it could have done something about it. Because honestly, we gotta quit making monsters, man. We gotta
Right.
quit making predators.
Right.
And we make them more than any place else in the world.
Oh yeah.
We really do.
Yeah. Originally, Jeremy was facing the death sentence for the murder had the case gone to trial, but hours before his trial was to start, his lawyer entered a plea bargain on his behalf. And on September 8th, 1998, Jeremy pleaded guilty to 4 charges: first-degree murder, first-degree kidnapping, sexual assault on a minor with substantial bodily harm, and sexual assault on a minor. On October 14th, 1998, he was sentenced to 4 life terms, one for each crime he pleaded guilty to be served consecutively without the possibility of parole. Um, Sherrice's mother, Yolanda Manuel, yelled at Jeremy in court the day of his 98 sentencing, and she said, quote, "Are you a demon or are you a devil? Um, you are so evil. If I had a wish here, I would put you to death the same way you put my child to death. If it was my prison, I would blindfold you and shoot you in your feet and send you back into your cell."
Ouch.
Jeremy has appealed his conviction. In 2000, he was unsuccessfully defended by Camille Abate. Jeremy recanted his confession and accused Leslie Abramson of lying to him and bullying him into pleading not guilty in order to cover up her misunderstanding of Nevada law. Jeremy's new attorney also suggested that Leslie Abramson wanted him to plead guilty because Jeremy's parents could not afford to pay her additional fees if the case went to trial. Leslie Abramson has denied all these allegations, but ultimately his appeal was rejected. In 2001, the Nevada Supreme Court rejected an appeal by Jeremy to withdraw his guilty plea. In January 2006, Jeremy lost a federal court bid to review his case. And on May 31st, 2018, a request for parole was made based on 2012 and 2016 Supreme Court decisions that juveniles should have a chance at parole, but his request was ultimately denied in 2018, July of 2018.
He wasn't a juvenile when this happened. He was 18.
David Cash has never faced any charges for watching the crime take place. In Nevada, it is deemed not illegal to witness a crime and fail to report it. Sherrice's mother demanded that David Cash Jr. also be charged as an accessory to murder, but authorities stated there was insufficient evidence connecting him to the actual crime. In a later interview, David talked about Sherrice's death, said, quote, "I'm not going to get upset over somebody else's life. I just worry about myself first. I'm not going to lose sleep over somebody else's problems." What a dickhead.
Yeah, what a dick.
He also, it gets worse. He also told the Los Angeles Times that the publicity surrounding the case had made it easier for him to score with women. David also told the Long Beach Press Telegram, quote, "I'm no idiot. I'll get my money out of this."
Mm.
David would be labeled the Bad Samaritan, becoming target of a campaign by students who attempted to get him kicked out of UC Berkeley for not stopping the crime. Two Los Angeles radio hosts, Tim Conway Jr. and Doug Steckler, subsequently held a rally to have David expelled from the University of California, Berkeley, but university officials stated they had no basis to remove him since he was not convicted of any crime. David has never expressed remorse over Sherrice's death. In a radio interview, he
Why
stated,
would he go to
quote,
UC Berkeley?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that college.
Oh, Berkeley's the uh it's really, really uh,
Really,
j-
really.
I'm trying to think of a word. It's where they started the punk radio station. It's really hippy dippy.
I don't know. Maybe
You
he
know,
was hippy dippy. I don't know. I don't know. I
they-
don't know. He did have a later radio interview in which he stated, quote, "It was a very tragic event. The simple fact remains I don't know this little girl. I don't know people in Panama or Africa who are killed every day, so I can't feel remorse for them. The only person I know is Jeremy Strohmeyer, but he insisted that he did nothing wrong." This this David Cash is a dick.
I wonder if I
Piece of
wonder if
shit.
Jeremy might not be incorrect.
That David committed the crime? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I, I I don't know.
yeah.
Jeremy was initially incarcerated at, well, you know, surely they did a swab test.
One would assume. One would assume.
And so, you know, it doesn't say it in here, so who knows? Who knows? Jeremy was initially incarcerated at Ely State Prison, which is a maximum security prison located north of Ely, Nevada, where most prisoners in Nevada who are serving life without parole are in prison for at least the early portion of their sentence. He was placed in administrative segregation, meaning he was not placed in the general inmate population, but rather his own cell in a special secured section. He was reportedly transferred to the Lovelock Correctional Center in Lovelock, Nevada, where he is classified as medium custody. As of 2023, he is in High Desert State Prison, which is a low medium custody prison. Jeremy's adopted parents did file a $1 million lawsuit against Los Angeles County and its adoption workers in October of 99. They claim that social workers deliberately withheld crucial information that would have stopped them from adopting him as an infant. Okay, so I'd forgotten this one in here, so there it is. Had they known, they wouldn't have adopted him. And I kind of think that sucks on them.
Yeah, yeah. That's really shitty.
Why not take somebody that needs adoption, love, nurture them, and potentially get the help they need?
Stop. Yeah, yeah. Take them from the track of being the monster and make them something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Specifically, they claim they were never told that Jeremy's biological mother had severe mental problems, including that she suffered from chronic schizophrenia and had been hospitalized more than 60 times prior to Jeremy's birth. They do, however, continue to support their son. The suit was dismissed in 2002 on the basis that it was barred by the statute of limitations, and dismissal was affirmed on appeal. So, like I said, I think it kind of sucks that they wouldn't have adopted him just
Hmm.
because of the mental problems of the family. But um, so, despite that, Sherrice lost her life in such a brutal way, she did leave a powerful impact in the state of Nevada. She was a smart second grader who loved learning and had dreams of becoming either a nurse, police officer, or dancer. In 2000, Nevada passed the Sherrice Iverson bill, which required people to report to authorities when they have reasonable suspicion that a minor is being abused. California also got wind of the Sherrice bill and decided to pass the Sherrice Iverson Child Victim Protection Act, which requires people to notify law enforcement if they witness rape, murder, or lewd and lascivious act on a child. So, you know, there was good that came out of that.
Yeah.
But that's the sad story of the murder of Sherrice Iverson.
Well, thank you for that. Um, yeah, that's rough.
Hmm Like I said, it wasn't going to be an easy one. You know,
Now,
all murders are tragic, but you know there are some that are just super tragic, and this was one of them. I mean, this poor girl. I feel I feel for her dad. I saw some articles about her dad. Um, he burdens a lot of guilt, and understandably so. He put
yeah,
his child in harm's way.
yeah,
He couldn't control his gambling problem and let his kids wander around outside of a casino way past way past when they should have been out. I
yeah.
mean,
This isn't, yeah, this isn't just a couple of hours, Hey, I'm gonna go play these games. Why don't you guys go over to the arcade? I'll come check on you in 20 minutes. It sounds like he
in
dropped them
this
off and walked away.
in this day and age, I don't think you can even do drop off for a couple of hours. We have too many child predators out there.
Yeah.
Um,
They do it differently now because although I always go with them because
mhm,
I don't like gambling,
mhm,
so I always go with the kids to the thing. They do it differently now. You get tagged and you know monitored, and the kid, if you're not associated with the kid, they won't let the kid out,
right.
and it's a whole area. It's kind of like
Well, in this particular case, that wouldn't have even helped because she was inside the arcade. She
that's
wasn't
right.
getting
She
out.
was
They
Yeah,
took
that's
her into
right.
the
She was
bathroom.
inside the arcade. She just went to the
Um,
bathroom in the arcade.
but that's the thing about casinos. I like casinos. I gamble. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not a big gambler. I'm a cheap gambler, but I do gamble. Um, that's a recipe for disaster because most casinos offer free drinks when you're gambling.
Hmm.
Drinking kills inhibitions. People
Hmm.
might do things they might normally not do.
Hmm.
And you're now introducing a child into that environment unsupervised. I feel bad for her father. I really do. Because, like I said, I did read that he burdens a tremendous amount of guilt. I'm sure he absolutely does, because he put his kids in this situation. Um,
Imagine the brother's not doing too hot either
yeah, I didn't see much on the brother at all.
because he was there. But I mean, apparently she went into the bathroom. He followed her in, and he walked out 20 minutes later. So it wasn't a long time.
Right, right.
I mean, you could have turned around and went, oh, she's playing with those kids over there or whatever.
Hmm.
And at 14, he probably didn't think, oh, wow, those kids are older than I am. Why are they playing with a 7-year-old? That doesn't occur to a 14-year-old,
Hmm. Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? It's more kids.
Very tragic. Very, very,
Yeah.
very tragic. All right. Well, that will take us to the end of yet another recording week. We appreciate everyone hanging around and listening to us babble on. We love having our fans check out the stuff that's interesting to us and hope that's interesting to you.
Yes.
You can find more about us on nerderymurdery.com. That's our hub to everything about us. That's where you'll find links to this episode as well as pictures that are associated with it. And you'll also find the link to our YouTube page, which has our videos that Zig so often updates.
Yes, and I just went and checked them. The SR-71 scene is in our list. You get the
Awesome.
whole thing.
Appreciate you for that.
Sure thing.
You can also find the link to our merchandise, where if you wish to show off your Nerdy and Murdy fandom, please do consider doing that. Our merchandise, along with our Patreon, our patrons do help us with the cost of the show. There are costs that help for us to keep it on the air, for our production, for our website, and everything like that. So please do consider merchandise or becoming a patron and help support the show. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find the content of what we're discussing. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with your murdering.
Cue the music.